Now, the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California presents Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you the suspenseful play called Heart's Desire, starring Lloyd Nolan. Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you a remarkable tale of suspense. And with the tale called Heart's Desire, and with the performance of Lloyd Nolan as Henry Doyle, Roma Wines again hope indeed to keep you in suspense. City dock, jutting out into the Hudson River. A place deserted now this night because the hour is late. Until a man is seen moving down the dock towards the river, moving with a curiously groping, stumbling, aimless walk. And then there is a woman moving out of the shadows. A woman who is a little overdressed with a little too much makeup, sidling over to where the man must cross her path.
Hello there.
What?
I said hello.
What's your name?
Lucille.
What's your last name?
Hey, you're a fast worker.
What's your last name? Tell me.
Stop, you're hurting me.
Tell me.
Come on, Michael. Lucille, come on, Michael.
Oh, no.
What's the idea?
No.
That hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the matter with you, anyway? Hey, are you in trouble?
No, yes.
What is it? Were you looking for somebody? Is somebody lost?
Yes, I'm looking for someone.
Someone you love?
Love, yes. Someone that's my whole life.
You want to tell me about her? It helps sometimes.
What?
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yes, they say that a man can remember his whole life if he's drowning and...
You didn't come here to...
No, I came down here. I don't know why to think, to remember. But if I do tell you, maybe it'll come back like the drowning man. If I could start from the beginning, the very beginning. What was the beginning? My childhood. My father and mother were immigrants. Very poor people. I was hungry ever since I could remember. My mother was a scrub woman in a big office building. Sometimes she'd take me with her at night. I'd see those big, beautiful offices where important people were working all day long. My father didn't work. Oh, a few days sometimes, that was all. And always at home there were quarrels, terrible quarrels about money. First it used to make me sick with misery, my mother and father fighting. I couldn't stand it. And I'd run out and go and walk on the streets, walk through the fashionable neighborhoods, watch the fine people, gaze through the great shop windows of all the beautiful things there were to buy. And above all, I'd come down to the docks near where I lived and watch all the gay and happy people sailing on the great ocean liners to wonderful, distant places. Oh, that was the best of all. That was when I knew most clearly that someday I'd grow up and live like those fine people. So I didn't have to think or worry about anything, ever anymore. And even when they died, my mother and then my father... It was nothing. To me, they hadn't really existed at all for a long while. Only then, I knew I must find some kind of work to do. So I went to the bank in a fine, big building where I always knew I would go. I told them I was ready to go to work there. And they hired me. And after a few days, I decided that I should tell them what I had in mind. So I went to see the president of the bank. I was just 19 years old.
Yes? Well?
I'm Henry Doyle.
Oh, yes. Well, Henry, it's a little unusual for one of our messengers to insist upon seeing the president of the bank personally. But since you're new here...
Oh, no, listen. That's the Aquitania.
Oh, is it?
Yes. She's sailing this morning. I know when all the big ships sail. Mr. Frizzell, when I go abroad, would you advise that I take the Aquitania?
Well, she's a very nice ship.
Yes, I think she'd be best.
Henry, you may not believe it, but a bank president is a fairly busy man.
Oh, yes, that's why I came here to talk to you about my plans.
A plan?
Mm-hmm, yes, you see, I plan to be president of the bank someday myself.
You what?
Oh, not right away, of course, but someday. And I thought I ought to tell you.
Well, Henry, that's a very laudable ambition. And there's no reason, if you work hard and devote yourself wholeheartedly to the interests of the bank, why you shouldn't be president someday. Or anything else your heart desires.
Oh, you really think that, Mr. Frizzell?
Why, of course I do. Remember, Henry, there's always room at the top.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear you say so, because that's just what I've always thought myself. And that's what I was, a messenger. First, I was only an ordinary messenger, but then later, as they came to trust me more and more, they gave me more and more important things to do. Until at last, I did only the very confidential things, the most important things of all.
800, 900, 1,000, and 100 more is 21,100. Will you sign for it, please, Henry?
Oh, yes.
Gee, Henry, doesn't it worry you sometimes carrying all that money around?
What, this? Someday I'll have more than this, much more someday, when my ship comes in. And so I was happy. All day long I saw only the kind of people, my kind of people, the fine, important people that I admired. The kind that someday I was going to be. Oh, I was happy. Until something happened. Something that happened in a single day and that changed my whole life, changed everything.
Yes?
Henry Doyle, sir.
Oh, yes, Henry. Come in.
Thank you.
I think you know everyone here, don't you, Henry?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. How do you do?
And, Henry, the reason I've sent for you is because we have an old custom here of trying to show our appreciation to those members of our little family whom we feel have given loyal and devoted service to the 42nd Street Bank. And so it gives me great pleasure to present you with this gold watch bearing your name in token of your splendid and outstanding record since the day you joined us, 20 years ago today.
What?
Well, take it, Henry.
20 years.
Yes. And in all that 20 years, gentlemen, Henry never once was absent and never once was late. Henry, congratulations.
What about a speech? Congratulations, Henry.
Well, Henry, what do you say?
20 years. 20 years. 20 years.
1,001 and 2, 51,200. Will you sign for it, please, Henry?
Yes.
Say, what's the matter with you today, Henry? You act like you're walking around in a dream.
What?
I said you act like you're walking around in a dream.
For 20 years I've been walking around in a dream. For 20 years. That day, for the first time in 20 years, I did not go directly to the place the bank had sent me. Instead, I wandered through the city to look again at the things I'd dreamed of in my childhood. The beautiful store windows, the elegant, well-dressed people, and the great ocean liners waiting to sail for enchanted, far-off places. Things that I knew now could never be for me. Because suddenly I'd grown up. I was a man. A man going into middle age, and the childhood dream had passed me by. These things I'd thought. And many other things. Quite different things. And then that afternoon, I was sitting in a little park. And wondering what was the best thing to do next. And I saw a policeman coming toward me. And all at once, I knew it would be very simple. Officer. Officer.
Yeah?
I want to be arrested.
You're what?
Yes, I do. You You see, I'm a messenger for the 42nd Street Bank.
So what?
I've just lost $50,000.
Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you a star, Mr. Lloyd Nolan, whom you've heard in the first act of Heart's Desire, a radio play by Robert Richards and Arthur Lawrence, which is Roma Wines' presentation tonight of Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. The name Elsa Maxwell stands for gracious hospitality. And here is a timely suggestion from Miss Maxwell.
Planning even a simple dinner nowadays calls for real imagination. But there is a simple, inexpensive way to dress up ordinary foods and make them tempting. Dine by candlelight, if possible. And most important, serve golden Roma sauterne, well chilled, with the meal. The soft light and the bright golden glory of delicate Roma sauterne greatly heightens your pleasure.
That is truly an appealing idea. And as Miss Maxwell suggests, delicious Roma California Sauterne, a wine grower's masterpiece, is the subtle note that tones up the occasion. You'll enjoy its freshness of bouquet and the superbly delicate flavor. And like all Roma wines, it possesses unvarying goodness, the goodness of selected grapes, picked at their best in California's choicest vineyards, brought to fullest flavor by the ancient skill of Roma's famed wineries. Serve Roma wines regularly. They are quite inexpensive. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. R-O-M-A, Roma wines.
And now Roma Wines bring back to our soundstage Mr. Lloyd Nolan, who in the character of Henry Doyle continues a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
20 years. 20 years of being a messenger for the 42nd Street Bank, and with such a fine record as I had, and then suddenly to lose $50,000, they couldn't believe it. They didn't know what to believe. They kept asking me and asking me. And I kept saying the same thing, that I'd fallen asleep on the park bench, and that when I woke up, the satchel was gone. And then came the trial. They were all so nice, all my witnesses. And then, finally, it was over.
Henry Doyle, in view of the fact that the money in question has never been found, the jury finds itself in more than reasonable doubt of your innocence of complicity to the crime of theft, and therefore finds you guilty, adding, however, strong recommendation for leniency. That is also my inclination, particularly in view of all testimony here as to your exemplary record in the past. With this in mind, it is nevertheless my necessary duty to sentence you to 4 years in the state penitentiary.
Lights out in 15 minutes. Lights out. 15 minutes. Lights out.
Lights out. Sleep. How can you sleep behind bars?
No, I like it when it's time to go to sleep.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Don't you sleep kind of restless, Henry?
Oh, no. I sleep very well.
Hey, Henry, I don't think you ever told me what you're in here for.
For losing some money.
Yeah? How much?
$50,000.
And you just lost it, huh?
Yeah.
What'd they give you?
4 years.
Gee, it's tough. And I'll be out in another year myself.
Oh, I don't mind.
You don't?
No, 4 years isn't long to wait. Why should I mind? No, I didn't mind. Because almost every night I'd dream. I'd dream of the things that I'd done that day when I left the bank for the last time. Things I'd never told anyone. How I'd gone to the stationery store and bought a heavy brown envelope. How I'd thrown the empty satchel away in a vacant lot. How I'd sealed the brown envelope with red sealing wax. And how I'd gone to the little pawn shop down by the waterfront with a wide, dirty window. 3 crooked steps leading to the door. The little bell that tingled when the door was open. The clocks, 10 or 20 clocks, ticking time away. The old man in pink shirt sleeves who sat behind the wicket.
You want something?
You the pawnbroker?
That's right.
Oh, I'm going away for a long time, and I'd like to leave a package.
Okay.
I'm taking a trip around the world, and I may be away for several years.
Well, don't worry. It's perfectly safe here. When you come back, it'll be just as you left it, with the seal unbroken.
Well, thank you.
I'll have the receipt for you in a minute.
Receipt?
Sure. Don't you want one?
No, I might lose it. I'm going away, see.
Then how are you going to claim the package?
Well,
I could just take your name.
Oh, yes, that's the best way. I'll leave my name, and you can make some kind of a note on the envelope that it's only to be given to me.
Okay, let's have it.
What?
Your name.
Oh, my name. Well, you see, my name.
It don't have to be your right name. It don't even have to be a name. Just write something on there so you can identify the package.
Oh, yes. Well, let's see. Yes, I'll just write something. Something that I can remember. And always then, just as I was about to write, I'd wake up. Oh, it was a wonderful dream. Even better than the ones I used to have, because this dream was real. And then one night, there in my cell, something happened. I was asleep. I was dreaming again. The same dream.
Your name?
Oh, my name. Well, you see, my name.
It don't have to be your right name. It don't even have to be a name. Just write something on there so you can identify the package.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. Yes, I'll just write something. All right.
Henry. What was the name, Henry? What did you write, Henry? What was the name?
For a moment, I lay utterly frozen with fear. I was awake, but I'd been sleeping, dreaming, talking. And he'd heard. He knew. Everything. Everything but the name. The name.
What was it, Henry? What was the name, Henry? The name you wrote on the package. What was it, the name?
What?
You was kind of tossing around in your sleep, and I come over to see what was the matter.
Oh, was I?
Yeah, I guess you was kind of having a nightmare, huh, pal?
Nightmare? Yes, it was a nightmare. For a while, I was afraid even to sleep. For fear I'd say out loud what I'd written on that envelope and he'd hear. And then all that I'd planned for would be gone. I knew I must force it all from my mind, as I had done with unpleasant memories when I was a child. I spoke less and less. Last, I didn't even speak at all. The last 2 years, I didn't speak at all. Even when the warden called me to his office to tell me I was once again a free man, I didn't answer him. I didn't speak at all. I was free. At last, free of everything. I could hardly wait for the train to carry me back to New York. And then the pawn shop. Yes, the same dirty window, the same crooked steps, same tinkling bells, all those clocks ticking time. The clocks. My dream was about to come true. And then my heart almost stopped beating. That man behind the iron wicket. It wasn't the same man.
Okay, what'll you have?
You're not the pawnbroker.
No.
But he's an old man. He wore pink shirt sleeves and...
He's dead.
What?
You're talking about my father. He died 3 years ago.
Dead? Oh, but you're his son.
Yeah.
Then you're carrying on the business.
Yeah.
Look, I left the package here 4 years ago. I told your father that...
Got the receipt?
No, I didn't take one.
Now, look, but we don't...
I tell you, I didn't take one. See, I was going away on a dangerous trip. I was afraid I'd lose it. So your father said it would be enough to give him a name. He wrote a note on the package.
What was the package like?
Well, it was a brown envelope, but so big and sealed with red wax.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that. Hold on a minute.
Oh, good. Your father said I wouldn't have any trouble. He said I just have to mention the name, you know.
Yeah, that's what it says here on the envelope.
Oh, that's good. Can I have it, please?
Sure, just give me the name.
Of course. The name is... Funny, isn't it? It slipped my mind for a minute. Isn't that silly? I just can't remember it for a minute.
You sure this is your
Well,
envelope?
of course it is. I told you what it looked like, didn't I? I described it perfectly, didn't I? Wide, brown envelope, sealed with red wax. Look, go on.
What about the name? I mean, what's written here?
Now, listen, you must know it's mine. You must know that envelope belongs to me. You must give it to me.
Oh, I must I? What's in it?
What difference does that make?
If you know so much about it, you ought to know what's in it.
Now, listen. That's my envelope. Give it to me.
Look, Bud, don't tell me what to do. The note here says not to give it to anybody unless the name is presented. Now, what's the name?
It's...
So long.
No, look.
No name,
Look.
no envelope.
I'll remember it in just a second, please. Will you?
Sure. Why don't you go outside? Maybe the air will help.
No, but wait.
Go on,
please.
outside.
Please, will you?
Go on, beat it.
All right. But I'll be back. I'll be back. That's my package. I'll remember, and I'll be back. I'll be back. I wandered through the streets. I beat my head with my fist, trying to remember. While I was in prison, I'd forgotten it. I'd made myself forget it. Now I couldn't remember. Names raced through my mind, but none of them were right. I began running, looking at names in the street, on the shops, anywhere I could see them. Names.
Beauty Salon, Livingston Cross, Jewelry.
Miriam and Company Neckwear.
Sylvia Torres, Lingerie.
William D. Roberts Furniture.
Billy Canfield, Drake.
Dorothy Gregory Hat.
Arnold Milton, Shoes.
Delaney for Drugs.
Lawton for Liquor.
Benson for Books.
Graham for
Alan
Gowns.
Wilson.
Edith Parker.
Martin Slater.
D. Billings.
R. Nelson.
E. Dawson.
Dixon.
Denby.
Green.
Gray.
French.
Miller.
Muller.
Martin.
Minton.
Mason.
Bay.
Hey.
Day. Oh, no. What'd you say your name was?
Lucille Carmichael.
No, I can't remember.
Gee, Henry, I feel sorry for you. Honest.
You've been swell, but it's no use.
Try again, Henry. Try to think back.
I can't.
You've got to. Maybe it wasn't the name at all, see? Hey, what were you thinking about when you wrote in the package?
I don't.
You must have been thinking about something.
I was thinking about everything I'd always wanted to do, the things I was going to buy, places I was going to go. That was it mostly, the places I was going to go. All over the world, just wandering. Everywhere I wanted. Just wandering to my heart.
Henry. What is it? Henry?
My heart. My heart. Heart's desire. That's it. Heart's desire. That's what I wrote on the package. I remember. I can get it. My money, $50,000.
Henry,
Wait. Why? I'm going to get my money.
You can't get it tonight. It's too late.
Oh, I'll wake him up. I
Then
don't
he'll be
care.
suspicious.
I don't care. It's mine.
Henry, wait. Now, be calm for a minute.
Oh, how can I be calm?
Just sit down here beside me. For a minute, come on.
I don't
Look
want...
down at the water. That'll help you to get calm. See? The water is so calm.
I don't want to look at the water. I want to go...
Henry.
What?
Can you swim?
No, I can't. What's the difference? What are you doing? No! I remember. Heart's desire! Heart's desire!
And And that is the end of the story, of Henry's story. But you might have suspected that it was not quite the end of the story if you had seen a little item in the newspaper 2 weeks later under shipping news. I will read it to you. Miss Lucille Carmichael, who recently came into an inheritance from a long-lost relative, has engaged the royal suite of the Aquitania and is sailing for Europe tomorrow. Her stay abroad will be indefinite. And so closes Heart's Desire, in which Roma Wines have brought you Mr. Lloyd Nolan as star of tonight's study in Suspense.
Before Mr. Nolan returns to the microphone, let me say a word for Roma Wines, the sponsor of Suspense. Genuine cordiality and simplicity have made Miss Elsa Maxwell's hospitality famous the world over. She often says,
There's no better or simpler hospitality way than a glass of distinguished Roma wine. I suggest Roma Tokay, a delightful wine for any time or any place. Serve with coffee or dessert as a delightful finishing touch to your meals. Or set out Roma California Tokay with fruit or nuts or any snack when friends drop in.
That's a worthwhile suggestion. Try Roma Tokay, a velvety, flame-bright wine, moderately sweet, light, yet delightfully rich in flavor. You can always depend on Roma wines to be delicious, always unvaryingly fine in quality. And the next time you use vermouth, sweet or dry, use Roma vermouth. Zestful, herb-flavored, blended and mellowed with all the traditional skill of Roma wineries. Yet, it's surprisingly low-priced. So, try Roma vermouth soon.
And this is Lloyd Nolan, back from a watery grave just long enough to tell you how much I've enjoyed working on this most admirable program, Suspense. Mr. Spear has asked me to pass along to you the word that next Thursday, your stars will be two of Hollywood's favorite people, Miss Nancy Kelly and Mr. Helmut Dantine. I'll be listening. I know you will, too. Good night.
Suspense is produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. Lloyd Nolan will soon be seen in the picture Captain Eddie, produced by 20th Century Fox, who are now celebrating their 30th anniversary. Don't forget, next Thursday, same time, Nancy Kelly and Helmut Dantine will be your stars of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California presents
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you the suspenseful play called A Guy Gets Lonely, starring Dane Clark.
Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you a remarkable tale of suspense.
And with a drama called A Guy Gets Lonely, and with the performance of Mr. Dane Clark as Eddie Lewis, Roma Wines hope indeed to keep you in suspense.
Have you ever been lonely, desperately lonely? Well, there's an emptiness in the pit of your stomach that no food can remove. There's a coldness about people's faces that make you shudder. And you do silly things when you're lonely. Maybe that explains what happened to me. Maybe. Anyhow, I was hanging around the shooting gallery in one of those Broadway penny arcades that night, one of those places where you can play a game of chess, get your fortune told, have 10 shots at Hitler, all 15 cents. And I was alone, as usual. thinking the dull, drab, dreary things a guy thinks about when he's alone, when suddenly an old man standing next to me said...
Well, my aim is not what it used to be. Oh, got a match, my boy?
Match? Oh, sure, here.
Oh, thank you. You haven't by any chance got a cigarette to go with that match, have you, son?
Of course, here, take one.
Oh, thanks again. You know, with cigarettes so scarce nowadays, the only way a gentleman gets a smoke is to buy them himself.
Yep.
Thank you. What's the matter, kid? You look like your ship came in, only your mother-in-law was aboard.
Oh, nothing.
Oh, come on. Fess up to old Horace. I'm Beatrice Barefax without the girdle.
Well, I'm just fed up with this town, that's all.
There's nothing wrong with this town, kid. It's like all other towns.
Yeah, except the one you grew up in.
Well, I suppose you're right. You know what you need is a little diversion. Huh? Oh, here, my man. Load these guns up again, will you?
Yes, sir. Both guns, chum.
Naturally. You'll try it again, won't you, son?
All right, sir.
Okay.
You know, I think perhaps I've got just the right medicine for your homesickness, young fellow.
Oh, what's that?
A girl.
A girl?
Yes. Don't tell me you've never heard of them. Well, if you haven't, bless me. I don't want to be the one to tell you.
And there we are.
No, it's not
it.
that.
Here you are, sir. That'll be $2.
$2?
That's right, chum. There's a war on, in case you haven't heard. Ammunition's kind of hard to get nowadays.
Oh, well, as a matter of fact, it's a little dark in here, and my eyes aren't what they used to be, so perhaps I'll simply forget.
No. Here's the money. Go on. Go ahead, Pop. Shoot.
You wouldn't care to make a small wager on this, would you, my boy? As I say, my eyes...
No, thanks.
Well, as I was saying, son, I have a splendid idea. Now, tomorrow, being the Sabbath, my wife and I are bound for Minnewanka on a peaceful little fishing expedition. If you care to accompany us, there is a faint chance, just a faint chance, mind you, that I might round up a beautiful young lady who will make it a foursome.
Well, wouldn't that be too much trouble?
Oh, not at all, son. Meet me here tomorrow at 9. What do you say?
Gee, that's swell, except that...
Except what? Oh, do you mind if I shoot first?
No, go ahead. Except that I've never been fishing before in my life.
Well, don't worry about it.
Hey, your eyes aren't too bad.
With a fish, the big thing is not so much your experience as your bait.
The idea of not being alone again on Sunday is what excited me. I didn't give much thought to the girl until I saw her. If you've ever seen a truly beautiful woman walking toward you, you'll know what I'm talking about. First, you see the tiny gray silhouette in the distance, and then the figure seems to spring to life. Each curve runs into place, and finally you see the smooth oval face and the long auburn hair dancing in the breeze. And before you know it, you're in a trance, that's all. That must have been what happened to me when I first saw Jorlie, because I don't remember much of anything until I heard myself saying, "Oh, hey, what's that?"
A worm, silly. You can't fish without a worm.
Do I have to?
Well, of course. As captain of this boat, I promise to bring in more fish than Horace.
Wow.
I order you to put that worm on the hook.
No, it shakes.
Rather gracefully, don't you think?
Kind of reminds me of a shimmy queen at a burlesque show. Oh.
There.
Oh.
Now you did it. Easy, wasn't it? Now drop your line in the water.
Okay. Well, where's the fish?
Patience, lad, patience. The fish hasn't had a chance to read your advertisement yet.
Well, if they could only see you, Jorlie, I doubt if they'd bother with my line at all.
Oh, your line isn't bad, Eddie. This is so bad at all.
I guess in the next few hours I told her just about all I could remember about myself, about wanting to be an actor and leaving home and coming to this town and the disappointments, and how I decided to go home while I still had some money left, and how lonely I was, how terribly lonely I was. And before she left that night, she wouldn't let me take her home. I made a date for the next night. It's funny how quick you can get to feel that way about somebody when you're lonely. We met in the Astor lobby, and after we talked for a while...
For a slow starter, you certainly pour it on in the backstretch.
No. Please don't laugh, Jolie. I'm pretty serious.
About what?
About you.
How about me?
Jolie, look. I was planning to go home today. I had the ticket in my pocket, and this morning I turned it in.
Oh.
Look, I still want to go home, Jolie, but I want you to go with me.
You want what?
I want you to marry me. Jolie?
I heard.
Well?
You want an answer now?
Yes.
It's no, Eddie.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Well, is there somebody else?
No, it isn't that, Eddie. It isn't anything you could possibly imagine. It isn't even that I don't love you, because maybe I do.
Jolie!
But you see, Eddie, I was going to ask you something tonight, too, and it doesn't stack up very well against what you asked me.
Jolie, what? What?
Oh, I know it's silly. We've only known each other for 48 hours, and it shouldn't matter, but... Oh, it doesn't matter anyway now.
Jolie, you've got to tell me.
It's just an old story, Eddie. Such an old story that you probably wouldn't even believe it. That's the trouble.
Look, I believe anything you told me.
It's about my mother out west and how I support her and how she needs an operation, and... I was going to ask you for $1,000.
Is that all?
That's enough.
Oh, Jolie, why did you put me through such a cold sweat for a little thing like that?
It's pretty complicated.
Oh,
Eddie.
What's complicated about it? Look, Jolie. Look, here's a ring. It's all I've got right now, but I wish you'd wear it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
An old Samoan chief gave it to me when I was in Tahiti. Go ahead, look inside.
To Eddie Lewis from... ?
Yeah, I had that engraved in it when I got back to the States. I never did know the old guy's name. Will you wear it?
Eddie, I'll meet you here tomorrow for lunch. And if I'm wearing the ring, third finger, left hand, you'll know that I do.
All right. Jolie.
Yes?
Do you want the money now?
No, Eddie, no. Not now.
The next day I was there waiting for her, way ahead of time again, but this time she was late. After a half hour, I began to get worried. Then I began to get scared. And after a full hour had gone by and she still hadn't shown up, I was half crazy, and then I felt a hand on my arm and a voice speaking over my shoulder.
You waiting for somebody?
That's right.
A lady?
Yeah, what about it?
Would your name be Eddie Lewis?
Yes. Say, what do you know about the fact that I'm...
We found your name written in lipstick on the back of a bathroom door up on the 10th floor. After it said, ask the lobby, 1 o'clock. So we sort of put two and two together. You see, I'm from headquarters, Eddie.
What?
I'm a detective.
Detective? Listen, if you know anything about Jolie Andrews, I was supposed to meet her here about an hour ago, and
Would she have been wearing this ring by any chance?
Well, that's right. That's my ring. Where is she?
She's down at the city morgue, Eddie. She's dead.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as star Mr. Dane Clark, whom you have heard in the first act of A Guy Gets Lonely, a radio play by Don Paul Nathanson, which is Roma Wines' presentation tonight of Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. Gracious hostess, internationally known on entertaining, Elsa Maxwell's suggestions are always worthwhile.
Spring is here, and nature is again bursting into life. Let's bring some of this beauty to the dinner table. A centerpiece of spring flowers will brighten your table, and there's no better way to awaken winter-weary appetites than by serving cool Roma Burgundy with the meal. This glorious wine from California goes well with almost any food.
So simple, and yet how charming. A few flowers to give your table the gay note of spring. A bottle of cool, delicious Roma Burgundy as the subtle accompaniment to a savory meal. You'll enjoy the tart piquancy, the fruity, robust taste of this distinguished Roma Burgundy. Like all Roma wines, unvaryingly good, always high in quality. The result of selected grapes, slowly brought to perfection in California's choicest vineyards, gently pressed, then brought to fullest flavor by the ancient skill of Roma's famed wineries. Yet all this goodness is yours for only pennies a glass. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. R-O-M-A, Roma wines.
And now Roma wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Dane Clark as Eddie in A Guy Gets Lonely, a play well calculated to keep you in suspense.
My mind was going round like a merry-go-round. Having an old moocher like Horace walk up out of a clear sky and introduce you to a girl like Jorley. Proposing to her after only 48 hours. And then having a cop come along and tell you she's dead. They took me down to headquarters and I was there all day answering questions and trying to dope out what had happened myself. I even told them how she'd asked me for $1,000, but they didn't pay much attention to anything I said.
Simple case of suicide, and that's that.
But it couldn't be. Jolie wouldn't commit suicide.
You recognized her, didn't you?
Well,
Well, what?
People don't look quite the same after they've fallen 10 stories on a concrete side.
But you recognized her?
Yes, I recognize her. But why did she write my name on the inside of that door?
How do I know what women think about before they jump out the window? I'm not Mr. Anthony.
Well, look, maybe somebody followed her. Maybe somebody tried to force the door.
There wasn't any lock on the door.
Then it would have been that much easier. Maybe somebody...
Look, Eddie, just what are you trying to make out of this?
I don't know. All I know is it couldn't have been as simple as this.
You wouldn't be thinking about murder, would you?
Maybe.
Now, Eddie, this sort of thing happens all the time. Look, I'll draw you a picture. Friendless girl meets guy. They start going together. And she asks him for money. He doesn't give. The next day...
Look, I told you.
I'm doing the talking. She asks him for money, and he doesn't give, see? The next day, she writes his name on the handiest plain white surface, and boom. Now, how does that look to you?
All right. But what about Horace? Have you tried to trace him?
Yes, sure. We tried to find Horace. Only we didn't. Mainly on account of he doesn't exist, if you ask me.
I talked to him, I tell you. He introduced us.
You don't have to go that far to explain how a man meets a girl nowadays, Eddie.
Look, he did introduce us. He was an old man, white hair. It was in the shooting gallery.
And he has a hobby of introducing guys to beautiful gals, and nobody knows where he lives. And the only time you ever met him was in the penny arcade that's so busy they wouldn't remember George Washington being in there. That and the time you were seen together by a couple of lake trout. Oh, cut it out, will you, son?
All right, go on home, Eddie. I wouldn't leave town just yet, though, if I were you.
All right.
And, Eddie.
Yeah?
I wouldn't push that murder theory too far, either.
Why?
Because you know who's the only possible suspect for murder? That's right. You.
First, I didn't know what to do or what to think. I didn't blame the cops. From where they sat, it just didn't make any sense any other way. And then all at once, I knew what I was going to do. First, I moved to another hotel, just in case. And then I started growing a full beard, and I dyed it black. And my hair, too. You see, I'm a natural blonde, so it turned out pretty good. Good enough to pass off for a night anyway. And I really am an actor. Maybe no Barrymore, but enough to give a fair imitation of an accent. And I got some different clothes, and then I was ready. I began haunting that shooting gallery because I figured the old man had a system. But after about 3 weeks, I'd about given up hope. When one Saturday night, I walked into a little place off Times Square, and I saw him. My heart was jumping through hoops, but I just sort of moseyed around, tried to look as down in the mouth as I could, kept my face out of the light. I felt pretty safe with the beard, so I went over and I stood next to him.
Oh. Well, my aim seems to be off tonight. Oh, pardon me. Do you have a match?
I reckon I do. Sure, here you are.
Oh, thank you. My boy, like to try your skill at the shooting gallery? Perhaps a little wager?
Oh, no, thanks. I've just about had enough shooting to last me a lifetime. I just come back from 2 years in the South Pacific.
So that's where you got the beard?
Yeah, a bunch of us fellas grew 'em down there. I promised my kinfolk I'd let 'em see it before I shaved it off.
I'm not so sure I would shave it off. It's mightily becoming to you.
Thank you.
Where are your folks?
Texas. Got a mighty nice little ranch of my own down there. I sure do miss it.
Kind of lonely, huh?
Oh, you all can say that again, mister.
Well, son, if you'd forgive an old man for sticking his nose in somebody's business where he's got no call to...
Shucks, no. What's on your mind?
I think I know just the medicine for you.
Why, what's that?
A girl.
That was it. That's what I've been waiting for. First, I thought of taking the old devil out in the alley and sweating it out of him right then and there. Then I thought, no, there'll be a girl, and I want to have a talk with that girl. In the meantime, the old man was going on about that fishing trip.
If you'd care to join us, my boy, I think I can promise you a very pleasant afternoon.
Well, I reckon I couldn't do that. Perhaps if you could make it tomorrow night.
Well, now, that might be arranged. Where would you like to have us meet you?
Well, couldn't you just sort of give me the young lady's phone number, tell her I was fixing to call?
I'm afraid, you see, this particular young lady doesn't have a phone.
Oh, don't think I'm not downright grateful, mister, or that I wouldn't enjoy your company, but...
But you'd rather be alone.
Shucks. No, don't get me wrong. I'm no wolf or nothing like that, but... Well, when a fella has his first date with a gal for more than 2 years, maybe you can't understand what that means.
I think maybe I get the general idea, son. I'll tell her to look for a handsome Texan with a beard. Can you be here tomorrow night at, say, 8 o'clock?
Oh, I calculate I sure can.
Well, then, my boy, you've got yourself a date.
The next night I was there in plenty of time. I had plans for that girl, lots of plans. As I got around toward 8 o'clock, I kept looking toward the street entrance, but somehow I must have missed her because the next thing I knew, there was somebody standing beside me, and I heard a voice.
Hello there. I'm Joyce Island.
It seemed as though minutes went by before I was able to say a word. If it hadn't been dark where I was sitting, she couldn't have but helped to see that something was wrong. Because the girl was Jorley. My Jorley, who was supposed to be dead. The Jorley that I'd seen it myself at the slab at the city morgue. And somehow I managed to pull myself together and start talking.
You're Johnny Farrell, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. It was sure mighty nice of you to come.
Oh, that's all right. I wasn't doing anything.
Is there anything in particular you'd like to do now?
No, nothing in particular.
I thought maybe you'd like to go dancing or something like that, only
Only what?
Well, I discovered a terrible thing just before you got here, Miss... Ma'am.
You can call me Joyce.
You see, I left my wallet up in my hotel room.
Oh?
If you all wouldn't mind stopping by there with me for a minute while I pick it up, then we could...
And I suppose while we're up there, I can look over your etchings.
Oh, no, ma'am. I ain't that kind. Honest, I'm not. But if you don't want to go, it...
Oh, what's the difference? Come on, let's go. You always keep it this dark in here?
Well, there's a couple of bulbs burn out. I told them to have them fixed.
Oh, well, never mind. Where's that wallet?
In the closet there, my other suit. Say, Joyce.
Yes?
Would you mind if I stepped in here and sort of slicked up a little before we went out?
No. Go right ahead.
I went into the bathroom and got out my razor. My plans were still the same. I excused myself a minute before we came upstairs, and I made the phone call that I'd planned to. But there was a couple of little extra flourishes to be added on now that I hadn't figured on before. First, I shaved off my beard. Then I went to work on the hair dye with some rubbing alcohol. It came out pretty easy. And I was almost ready when I heard her voice in the next room.
Johnny?
Yes?
I think maybe I'd better go home.
You mean you reckon you don't want to go out with me?
Oh, well, it isn't you, Johnny, but...
Well, what is it?
You'll think I'm crazy if I tell you.
No, I won't. What is it?
Well, you sort of remind me of someone.
Who?
Oh, just someone I used to know.
Oh, but Joyce, I'm all ready to go now.
Well...
Only first I thought maybe we better have a little more light on the subject.
Well, I thought you said you didn't have any...
Hello, Jorlie.
Eddie.
That's right.
Eddie, I
thought I'd never catch up with you. All right, Jorlie, all right. Give.
What?
Come on, talk and talk fast. Who was that other girl, the one they thought was you, the one who's dead?
Well, she was my sister.
Sister? What happened to her?
I don't know.
What kind of a racket are you and the old man running anyway?
Well, Horace is... He's my father, Eddie. He's my stepfather,
anyway. Oh, that's nice. It's very nice. It keeps it all in the family, huh?
Oh, Eddie, you can think anything you want to. Nothing could be quite bad enough, but... Please believe me, I wasn't playing any games with you.
No?
No. That's why I sent Evelyn that day, my sister. I gave her your ring so you'd know she really came from me. I just couldn't face you myself.
Face me with what?
With what Horace and I had planned to do to you.
The old shakedown, huh?
I guess so. Evelyn was horrified anyway when she got wind of it. She was a funny girl. She belonged to one of those religious sects, and she said we'd have to atone for our sins and be punished. And now...
maybe you better start from the beginning.
Well, that's about all. We were awfully hard up, and Mother really was sick. And I'd borrowed some money once from a man I'd met. I paid it back that time, but it gave Horace ideas. He wheedled and threatened and said our mother might die, and... Well, I'd had a couple of pretty raw deals pulled on me out here, and I just didn't care anymore, I guess. That is... till I met you.
Yeah, and so you sent your sister to me to confess all, and she jumped out of the window instead. Is that what you think happened?
I don't know.
Then why didn't you tell me what you knew then?
Well, it wouldn't have brought Evelyn back to life. And Horace said we'd all go to prison, and... You see, Mother didn't know what was going on. It would have broken her heart.
Yes, but you went right back at it again.
Horace said if he'd had just a little money, he'd go away. He'd leave us alone and go back east.
And I was supposed to be the next victim as Johnny Farrell with a ranch in Texas.
No, Eddie, no. Not after I met you.
No.
You weren't before, were you? Oh, Eddie, maybe if you knew a little more about what a girl is up against in this town, you'd understand.
Telegram?
Well.
Yes. I had a hunch about you, my boy.
Horace.
Why, you...
Oh, don't try anything foolish. I'm quite expert with this little gun, as you may recall, my boy. I suggest we close the door and have a nice, quiet talk just between ourselves. That's better. So, in spite of all my admonitions, you still persist in this confessional mood, do you, my dear?
Horace, what are you going to do?
You young people may not see it quite my way, but I'm an old man, and I don't fancy the notion of spending my remaining years behind bars. It's quite a penalty for extortion, you know.
You're telling me.
And so I'm afraid there's going to be a little accident up here. Something like the accident that happened to poor Evelyn.
So you did kill her?
Well, technically, yes, I did assist her through that window after she insisted on making a scene.
Why,
Evelyn was always excitable, you know. Really not quite normal, I'm afraid.
Oh, Horace, you're mad.
Now, my dear, I want you to write a little note. See, there's paper and pen over there on the desk. And you will say, Darling, forgive me, but it will be best this way for both of us. And sign your name.
You must be mad to think I'd do such a thing.
You wouldn't like to see me kill your lover here, would you? Oh, yes, these old eyes can still tell love when they see it.
Charlie, look, don't do it. Don't do it. Can't you see he's going to kill us both anyway?
Horace, will you promise,
Of course I will. That's it, my dear. Write it down just as I told you.
There's only one thing wrong with all this, Horace. Do you want to know what it is?
Naturally.
I've already called the police. They're waiting for me in the lobby right now. And if I'm not down there in about 5 minutes, they'll be up here.
Oh, dear. This is embarrassing, isn't it?
Isn't it?
I think perhaps you'd better get on that telephone, my boy. Give directions for the officers to go away immediately. Say that you no longer have any need of them.
Well, all right. Hello? Hello, desk. You know those two men who are waiting in the lobby for me? Well, tell them to get up here as fast as they can. You!
Horace, no!
Jolie! Why, you won't... Oh, no. Jolie, are you all right?
I think so. It's only my shoulder.
Oh, darling, you shouldn't have gotten in
I'd
the...
rather have had it been me than you.
Look, I'll call a doctor.
What's going on here? We heard a shot.
Look, there's the man who's responsible for the suicide of Jolie Andrews. Oh, only it wasn't a suicide. He killed her. It wasn't Jolie Andrews. That's Jolie Andrews over here.
What are you talking
Hello,
about?
hello? I've got to get a doctor. Wait a minute, will you?
All right.
Hello? Look, don't you understand? Look, that isn't Jolie Andrews that's dead. That's Jolie Andrews over there.
You're not making sense, man.
Look, fella, look. I met this guy at a hotel.
Yeah?
And then we went fishing, and then we put the worms on a hook, and...
Yeah?
And then she was in a slab, and she was dead. Only she's not dead. She's wonderful. We're going to get married, see? I love her. And then Horace and I were in the shooting gallery. Then I met him, and I dyed my hair, and I made a plain taxi, see? And I met him one afternoon, and I for myself. Joe's alive.
And so closes A Guy Gets Lonely, in which Roma Wines have brought you Mr. Dane Clark as star of tonight's study in Suspense.
Before our star returns to the microphone, let me say a word for Roma Wines, the sponsor of Suspense. Elsa Maxwell is known the world over for her great charm as a hostess. Now, here's a brief message from this noted authority.
It is always a gracious act of hospitality to serve a glass of distinguished Roma wine. I suggest you try Roma California Tokay, a wine of unusual versatility, enjoyable any time, before or after meals. I serve it frequently with dessert or coffee. It's perfect with fruit or nuts or with any light snack.
Follow Miss Maxwell's good suggestion. Try Roma Tokay. A velvety smooth, flame-bright wine, moderately sweet, light, yet delightfully rich in flavor. And you'll find that all Roma wines are always delicious, always of unvarying goodness and fine quality. The next time you use vermouth, sweet or dry, use Roma vermouth. Zestful, herb-flavored Roma vermouth is blended, mellowed, developed, and bottled in California with all the traditional wine-making skill of Roma wineries, yet surprisingly low-priced. Try Roma vermouth soon, won't you?
This is Dane Clark. That I enjoyed appearing on Suspense goes without saying. All of us do. Next week's show sounds like it'll be really swell. It's a story written by one of the great contemporary masters of the art of suspense, Dashiell Hammett. And starring in it will be two of your favorite Hollywood people, John Payne and Stuart Irwin. I'll surely want to catch the one next Thursday, and I know you will, too.
Suspense is produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. Dane Clark appeared through the courtesy of Warner Brothers and will soon be seen with Dennis Morgan in their production, God is My Co-Pilot. Next Thursday, same time, John Payne will be your star of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Now, the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California presents
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you a play of suspense and smiles, starring William Bendix and Alan Jocelyn.
Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you a remarkable tale of suspense.
And with Raymond Chandler's satirical suspense tale, Pearls Are a Nuisance.
And with the performances of William Bendix and Alan Jocelyn, Roma Wines hope indeed to keep you in suspense.
It's quite true I wasn't doing anything that morning except looking at a blank sheet of paper in my typewriter and thinking about writing a letter. It's also quite true that I don't have a great deal to do any morning, but I like not doing anything. It gives me something to do. And I don't like telephone calls that interfere with it. That's why I have two telephones, one a public phone that I can ignore, and the other a private phone, which I better answer if I know what's good for me, and I do.
What did you say, darling?
Oh, I said good morning, dear.
How are you, darling? Busy?
Yes and no. Mostly no. Why?
Somebody has stolen Mrs. Penruddock's pearls, and I want you to find them.
Possibly you think you have the police department on the line. This is the residence of Walter Gage. Walter Gage speaking.
If you aren't out here in less than half an hour, you'll receive a small parcel by registered mail containing a diamond engagement ring.
I'll tell Mr. Gage when he comes in. I went naturally. I even hurried. Ellen's voice has that effect on me. I think it's the way she says...
Walter, darling.
Yes, Ellen.
Mrs. Penruddock's pearl necklace has been stolen.
So you said on the telephone my blood pressure remains normal?
It's a string of 49 matched pink pearls that Mr. Penruddock gave his wife on their golden wedding anniversary.
Only 49 pearls for 50 years of marriage? I wonder which was the bad year.
Oh, shut up, darling.
Yes, dear.
The worst part of it is the pearls are false.
False? Well, evidently they're all bad years.
Don't be silly, Walter. The pearls were real enough when Mr. Penruddock gave them to us. The fact is, she sold them and had copies made. Those copies have been stolen. You've got to get them back, Walter.
Well, what does it matter if they're false?
Well, she's terrified that the thief will blackmail her when he finds out they're only imitations. If Mr. Penruddock ever hears that she sold originals...
I begin to see what might be described as daylight. But where do I start looking for these baubles from which your elderly employer is so loath to be separated?
Because I know who stole them. The chauffeur we had here a few months, Walter. A horrid big bruiser named Henry Eichelberger. And that's suddenly the day before yesterday, for no reason at all, without a word. I'm sure he stole the pearls.
How big did you say he is?
About 6 feet.
In that case.
3.
3? 6'3"?
3.
I'm sure he didn't take them, dear, couldn't it?
He tried to kiss me once, Walter.
Oh, he did? Tried to kiss you, huh? Where is this big slab of meat, darling?
Here's the address he gave me when he first came here to work. Sounds like an unpleasant neighborhood.
Not half as unpleasant as it'll be for Eichelberger when I arrive. Tried to kiss you, did he?
The pearls are the important thing, Walter. And be careful. He's 6'3", remember?
I find it difficult to forget. Eichelberger's address proved to be a seedy-looking hotel upstairs over a Chinese laundry. At the head of the stairs, the door marked manager. I rang the bell.
Full up, Bud. Roll.
I'm not inquiring for a room. I'm looking for one Henry Eichelberger, whom I'm informed lives here.
If he does, he ain't registered.
That, as of course you know, is contrary to the law.
A wise guy, hey. Down the hall, Jack. 218.
Have the kindness to show me the way.
Huh. What do you know? A duke, no less. Okay, your lordship. Pick up your feet, eh? This is it. He's out.
Have the goodness to unlock the door. I wish to go in and wait for this Eichelberger.
In a pig's valise. Who do you think you are, Jake boy?
I wouldn't call me names if I were you.
You wouldn't, hey? Well, that just shows the difference between you and me, because I would. You want to make something out of it, hey?
Yes.
What? Oh. Hey, that wasn't fair. You got 20 years on me, hey?
Well, open the door, hey? I have no time to argue with you.
Huh. $1. $2, and I won't even tell Eichelberger when he comes in, hey?
That is a deal.
Brother, you can hit. I'll say that for you, hey?
Thanks, hey. Here's your money. If you hear any noises later on, ignore them. If there's any damage, it'll be paid for generously.
I hope you know what you're doing, hey?
I searched all the likely places where he might have hidden the necklace, and then I searched all the unlikely places. No necklace. Then I heard approaching footsteps. How did you get in here, Sonny?
The explanation of that can wait. I'm looking for one Henry Eichelberger. Are you he?
Get you, a real comedian. Wait till I loosen my belt before you make me laugh.
My name's Gage, Walter Gage. Are you Eichelberger?
Give me a nickel and I'll tell you.
I'm the fiancé of Miss Ellen McIntosh. I'm informed that you tried to kiss her.
What do you mean, tried?
I hit him rather severely on the left eye. Then the right. And I gave him a crushing uppercut to the jaw. He looked at me with an air of patient resignation and then hit me. I bent over and took hold of the room with both hands and spun it. When I had it nicely spinning, I gave it a full swing and hit myself on the back of the head with the floor. I believe I lost consciousness at about this point. At any rate, I was no longer aware of the time of day.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as stars Mr. Alan Jocelyn and Mr. William Bendix, whom you are hearing in Pearls Are a Nuisance by Raymond Chandler, which is Roma Wine's presentation tonight of Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. We quote now a brief word from the famous hostess, Elsa Maxwell.
The delicious flavor of tender broiled chicken, the succulence of spring lamb garnished with mint leaves, deserves the matchless flavor complement of Roma California Sauterne. This delicate wine, pale gold in color, delightful in bouquet, is a delicious flavor mate with fish or fowl.
Yes, just as the musical conductor blends the tones of different instruments, so the knowing hostess can combine the flavors of food with wine. Each glassful of Roma Sauterne is alight with Roma's rich heritage in winemaking. Here is a masterpiece of a wine grower's age-old skill. And all Roma wines, you'll find, are always unvaryingly good. The result of carefully selected grapes, picked at the peak of perfection in sunny California's choicest vineyards, and gently pressed. Then the natural juices are stored and guided with the ancient skill of Roma wineries to full goodness. Roma wines do not vary, are always high in quality, yet cost only pennies a glass. More Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. R-O-M-A, Roma Wines.
And now Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage William Bendix as J. Henry Eichelberger and Alan Jocelyn as Walter Gage in Pearls Are a Nuisance, a muscular drama replete with situations well calculated to keep you in suspense.
While I was thinking about the possibility of getting back to my feet in the very near future, a wet towel began to slap at my face, and I opened my eyes. The face of one Henry Eichelberger was close to mine and bore a certain appearance of tender solicitude.
All right, but I thought maybe you was killed, Jack. You got a stomach as weak as Chinese tea.
What happened? As if I didn't know.
You tripped on a itty-bitty tear in the carpet. You feel like getting up? Here, I'll give you a hand. Come on.
Thank you, Henry. May I call you Henry?
No tax on it. You look okay. Why didn't you tell me you were sick?
Eichelberger, you swine, that doesn't.
Cut it out. You'll muss my hair.
I wish you'd fall down when I hit you, Henry. Just once. It would do wonders for my morale.
You and me could get along, Jack. I never kissed your girl, even if I ain't saying I wouldn't like to. Is that all that's eating on you?
Well, no, there's another matter.
Sit down and tell me the score. Only, no more haymakers. They give me a headache. Promise?
I promise. Tell me, why did you leave the employ of Mrs. Penrodot?
You tell me. Am I what you might call a good looker?
Well, Henry...
Don't soap me.
No, then. I wouldn't call you handsome exactly, but unquestionably you ate your spinach as a child, if that's a consolation.
Get you, a real comedian. Wait till I loosen my belt.
Look, suppose you fell for a doll with stars in her hair. A guy like me that looks like a taxi going down the street with both doors open. Then suppose you get a job where you see this doll all the time and every day and you know it's no dice. What would you do, Jack? Me, I just quit the job.
Ellen?
Yeah.
Henry, I'd like to shake your hand.
Go ahead.
Now, there's one more thing. One rather insignificant detail. I'm empowered to arrange for the return of Mrs. Penroddock's pearl. $50 reward and no embarrassing questions.
You got nerve, Jack. So you think I stole some marbles and I'm sitting around here waiting for a flock of dicks to swarm me?
The police have not been told, Henry, and you may not be aware, but the pearls are false.
False? You mean they're false?
Exactly.
And you think I'd bother myself to hook some phonies?
You mean you didn't steal the necklace, Henry?
Now, look. If they was ringers, I wouldn't be bothered. And if they was real, I wouldn't be holed up in no cheap flop in L.A., waiting for a couple of carloads of Johns to put the sneeze on me, would I?
That's exactly what I thought, Henry. Well, as long as you didn't steal them, how'd you like the job of helping me recover them?
Are you kidding?
No, Henry, it's obvious that if you didn't snatch these marbles, I believe that's the expression, someone else did, and you can help me find him. How about it?
Why not?
Why not, indeed?
Well, you got any ideas of where to start?
Yes, I have. I feel that we must, as they say, tap the grapevine. When a string of pearls is stolen, all the underworld must be seething.
Maybe you got right, but this underworld that's doing all this seething ain't going to seethe much over a string of glass beads. Am I punchy?
I am thinking, Henry, that the underworld probably has a sense of humor, and the thief who went to the trouble of stealing some worthless trinkets would be the butt of considerable coarse jest.
There's the knucklest of an idea in that. I would say something like that could get around the pool rooms and start a little wholesome chuckling, all right?
Yes, all we need to do is to locate a reliable crook.
There's a guy named Lou Scandisi that runs the Blue Lagoon downtown. Might be interested in some marbles, but he don't like being asked questions.
He sounds dangerous.
Yeah, we'll turn him inside out and take a look at his liver.
Very well. Let us go and beard this Scandisi character in his malodorous den.
Yeah, let us go and leave us do what you said.
Mr. Scandisi's Blue Lagoon wasn't difficult to find. It was a rather soiled establishment bathed in an unpleasant blue light. Henry and I went through a small, dim dining room to a door marked private.
You Scandisi?
Who wants it to know?
Me and my friend here want to talk to you.
So? Talk. I'm listening.
It's about some pearls. 49. Is that right, Walter?
Quite right, Henry.
A pearl necklace that somebody hoisted.
Go on and get out before I have you thrown out.
You'll do what?
I'll do nothing.
That's better, doughface. What about them pearls?
Well, I don't think I heard about it.
Try to remember. Maybe if I pulled off one of your ears, it might help.
Henry, you seem to be doing all the work. Do you think that's quite fair?
Well, okay, you work them over. These fat guys brew something lovely.
Oh, take it easy. I ain't heard nothing. You guys insurance men, huh?
Now you're cooking with helium, doughface.
Well, what insurance company you boys work for?
Give him our card, Walter.
No, this is my personal card. It has my phone number on it.
Yeah. Okay. You may be surprised. You may get a call.
What do you think, Walter? You think this muzzler is leveling with us?
I dare say he wouldn't be above telling us an untruth.
Get you a real comedian. Wait till I loosen my belt. You giving us the straight goods, Scandisi?
Straight goods, absolute. We'll cooperate. I bet you get a call.
Okay. So long, Scandisi. And keep your schnozzle clean if you don't want to be looking for it under your desk, hey?
And that goes for your cat, too, Scandisi, hey.
Well, what now?
I think we've done an adequate day's work, Henry. The procedure would seem to be for me to go home and wait for the telephone to ring, bearing glad tidings from the underworld.
What about me?
I would suggest that you wend your way homeward also. Here's my private number. Call me in the morning.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
I went home and waited for the phone to ring. I must have fallen asleep after a while. It was quite dark when the call came through. Well, here goes. Walter Gage speaking, Acme Insurance Company.
When did did you become an insurance company?
Oh, hello. It's you, Ellen. Why didn't you call on the private phone?
Oh, I didn't have the number handy. You haven't found the pearls yet.
How'd you know?
We just got a telephone call.
From whom?
He wouldn't say. All he said was he heard from somebody named Stan something.
Scandeezy?
And that's it. That we were looking for the pearls.
Has he found out the pearls are false?
No. And I didn't tell him.
All right, don't worry. We have an idea how to get them back.
We? Who's we?
Henry and me.
Henry? Henry who?
I go burger. I've hired him to help me find the pearls.
Are you out of your mind? Didn't Henry take the pearls?
Of course not. He only left because he was in love with you.
Oh, Walter, that big brute. How could you say such a thing?
Ellen, I thought you'd be flattered.
Flattered? I never want to speak to you again, Walter Gage. Goodbye.
Ellen. Oh. Women, I sometimes wonder. Oh, hello, honey. I'm so glad you called back. Listen, darling.
Who you calling honey, sweetheart?
Who's this?
Never mind. Your name Gage?
Yes?
A guy named Scandese says you're looking for some oyster fruit. A frail named McIntosh says you're the guy to talk to.
Possibly.
Well, I got 49 of them, pal. Pink ones. $5,000 is the price.
Why, that's absurd. Those pearls happen to be false.
Quit your kidding. You heard me. 5 G's. I'll give you tomorrow afternoon to scrape it together. Then I'll call you and let you know where to meet me.
Hello?
Ellen, this is Walter.
I told you I never wanted to speak to you again.
All right, I won't speak to you. Just tell me the name of the man who sold Mrs. Penroddick's pearls for her.
Gallimore, Roger Gallimore. He has a jewelry company downtown.
Thank you.
Walter!
How do you like it, darling? I was beginning to see the light. The next morning, I went to see this Mr. Gallimore. He was a tall, pink man of about 70, and he listened to my narrative of events with considerable interest.
5,000 seems like a good deal for a string of false pearls.
Yes, indeedy. And you know what I think, Mr. Gallimore?
What, Mr. Gage?
I believe that the pearls are in fact real. You're a very old friend of Mrs. Penroddick. Perhaps even a childhood sweetheart. When she gave you the pearls to sell, you didn't sell them, Mr. Gallimore. Instead, you gave her $20,000 of your own money and returned the pearls to her, pretending they were imitations of the original necklace.
Son, you think a lot smarter than you talk.
I try very hard, Mr. Gallimore. And I'm correct?
Embarrassingly so, Mr. Gage. Pearls are real. Now, what would you like me to do?
Give me $5,000 with which to get them back. Mr. Gallimore felt much better after he'd had a glass of water, and some hours later I managed to convince him that I knew approximately what I was doing. He gave me a check for $5,000. This check, Henry.
You mean he gave it to you? 5,000 fish, just like that?
You have said it.
Well, I'll be a Mickey Finn at a woman's club lunch. Kid, you got something with that daisy chain chatter of yours.
Thank you, Henry. At any rate, all that remains now is for the phone to ring. Aha.
You can say that again.
Very well. Aha. Hello?
Gage?
Yes, who's this?
Guess. You got the dough?
It's in my pocket at this exact moment. If I have any assurance of honorable treatment, I'm prepared to go through with it.
Oh, you get the marbles, okay? We're in this business a long time, and we can't afford the wealth. If we did it, it'd get around, and nobody would play with us.
I understand. What are your instructions?
Tonight at 8 sharp, you'll be at Pacific Palisades. You got that?
Yes.
At the end of the dirt road, corner Sunset and Corona Del Mar. Be there at 8 sharp. And come alone, and no guns. No funny business, no smart work, and no slip-up, nobody get hurt. That's the way we do business.
Very well. One last thing. Where did you get my phone number from, Scandese?
Who else? 8 o'clock, then. And no tricks.
That is very interesting.
What?
Telephone?
Yeah. Hooray for Alexander Graham, what's his name? But what did the guy say?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all arranged, Henry. I'm to meet them tonight, all by myself, and give them the money.
All by yourself, huh? Get you, a real comedian. Wait till I loosen my belt. They'll take the dough and leave you laying there bleeding all over yourself, and they'll still have the marbles. I ought to go with you.
Henry, it's my duty, and I must brave these monsters in human guise, alone and unattended. Of course, I do have a big car, and you could hide on the floor under a rug.
It's a cinch.
But maybe...
Walter, the only thing wrong with you, as far as I can see, is you got holes in your head. All I'm trying to do is keep you from getting another one. I'm going with you.
So it was settled. Henry was to go with me. That afternoon, I stopped at the bank where I cashed Mr. Gallamore's check and changed it into $100 bills.
$3,500.
You counted as though it were your own.
5,000.
5,000?
5,000.
And now a roll of quarters, please.
Roll of quarters, please.
There seems to be an echo in here. Leave them in the wrapper.
Ooh, quite heavy, aren't they?
Yes, aren't they? So late that evening, I found myself out on the Pacific Palisades with Henry Eichelberger, boy, in the back of the car. I was very nervous. I think Henry was also. Neither of us were any too sure of what was going to happen that night.
Oh, me back.
What's the matter, Henry? Aren't you comfy back there?
Oh, I'm comfy, all right. Only my heater keeps digging into me. Ain't we there yet?
We're getting close. Stay down. This is business. This is the end of the line, Henry. Be careful. They're probably watching me.
Okay. What's that? It's me, Walter. My gun is breaking my back.
Well, stop sitting on it.
I did. Anything stirring?
No, keep quiet.
I'll make like a little mousie.
Don't you think we've waited long enough, Henry?
Well, we only been waiting 15 minutes. You sure this is the place?
Yes, of course.
Well, let's get out of the car and see if anybody shoots at us. Then we'll know if somebody's around.
Well, that seems to be the difficult way of finding out, but let's try it. I personally feel sure that there's no one here but you and I.
Suckered. You know what happened, Walter?
What do you think, Henry?
Well, it was just a tryout, that's all. Tomorrow this guy calls you again on the phone, and he says sorry, but they had to be careful, and they'll try again tonight, maybe. Maybe out in San Fernando Valley. And the price is now $10,000 on account of their extra trouble. I ought to go back and twist that Scandisi so he spends the rest of his life looking up his left pants leg.
Well, Henry, what's the next move?
Well, beat it home, I guess. Anyhow, I won't need this gun anymore. My back is sore enough from it.
We stood there and looked at one another, Henry and I. He doubled his hands into fists and shook them slowly in his sadness. I, too, was melancholy. In the brief time I'd known Henry, I'd grown very fond of him.
Yeah, that's it, all right. Nothing else to do but beat it on home. That's all that's left to us.
I took my right hand out of my pocket. I have large hands. In my right hand nestled the roll of quarters I'd gotten from the bank that morning. My hand made a large and heavy fist around them. Henry didn't notice.
What are you looking at me so funny for, Walter?
I just wanted to say good night, Henry. You had 2 strikes on me. Well, this is the big one.
I don't get it.
He got it then. My fist, with nearly a pound of metal in it, caught him squarely on the jaw. For a moment, he wavered back and forth on his feet, and then... Henry Eichelberger lay motionless on the ground, as limp as a rubber glove. I found the pearls twined around his ankle inside his left sock. Well, Henry, I said, although he couldn't hear me, you're a gentleman, even if you are a thief. You could have taken the money a dozen times today. You could have taken it a little while ago when you still had the gun. But even that repelled you. You threw the gun away, and we were man to man. But still you hesitated. In fact, Henry, I said, for a successful thief, you hesitated just a little too long. But as a sporting man, I can only think more highly of you. Goodbye, Henry, and good luck, I say. I put a $100 bill in his chubby little fist and withdrew. End of story.
But how did you know it was Henry, darling?
Well, you told me so, little lemon cookie. You were quite sure of it.
I know, but you must have had proof of some kind.
Well, there was one other minor detail that convinced me Henry was the guilty party. I gave Scandisi my phone number, but I have 2 telephones. One's a private line. Only 2 people had that number. You were one of them. Henry was the other. When Henry's accomplice got in touch with me, he used the phone number I'd given Henry, not the one I gave Scandisi. You see?
Oh, darling, you're so clever.
Well, of course, you may kiss me if you like. A few months after Ellen and I were married, we received a letter postmarked Honolulu. It was from Henry.
My dear, dear Walter, I have only just received the joyous tidings that you and Ellen are embarked upon the happy tide of holy matrimony. I am so glad for you. I often think of you, Walter, particularly with an overwhelming curiosity as to what it was you struck me with that night. Ah, well, I dare say it can only be conjecture on my part now. A hammer, perhaps. That I allowed my jaw to be exposed to your weapon while I stood there meditating as to whether to take your 5,000 then or wait for 10 the following evening was a human error of judgment. At any rate, I entertain no feelings of ill will toward you. On the contrary, I am indebted to you greatly. The ease with which you talked Mr. Gallimore out of $5,000 has changed my life. I have been taking English lessons myself, and am now practicing on a wealthy widow woman, not without financial success. Ah, toujours le sport. Devotedly, Henry. P.S. Was it perchance an anvil, I wonder?
You know, Henry wasn't such a bad fellow. All I really disliked him for was his barbaric English. Now he's changed that. Maybe I should have married him. What do you think, Walter?
Oh, gets you. A real comedian. Wait till I loosen my belt.
And so closes Pearls Are a Nuisance, in which Roma Wines have brought you William Bendix and Alan Jocelyn as co-stars of tonight's study in Suspense. Suspense is produced, edited, and directed by William Spear.
Before our stars return to the microphone, let me say a word for Roma Wines, the sponsor of Suspense. Elsa Maxwell's hospitality is always simple and unaffected. The other day she said,
"A few old friends, some comfortable chairs, a glass or two of good Roma California sherry, and there you have the perfect combination for a pleasant evening at home. In fact, you'll find the light, nut-like flavor of this glorious amber golden Roma sherry is delightful any time. A delicious prelude to dinner, a gracious note of hospitality whenever friends drop in."
Best of all, Roma Wines are so reasonably priced, any family can afford to serve them regularly. The goodness of Roma Wines can add a lot to the joy of your daily living. Always delightful, always unvaryingly high in quality, yet cost only pennies a glass. And the next time you use vermouth, sweet or dry, use Roma vermouth. Zestful, herb-flavored Roma vermouth is blended, mellowed, developed, and bottled in California with all the traditional winemaking skill of Roma wineries. Try Roma vermouth soon, won't you?
This is Alan Jocelyn. I trust that you dyed-in-the-wool suspense fans who are accustomed to somewhat heavier meat on these Thursday dramas weren't displeased with our efforts in the interests of gaiety and insouciance. Do you concur, Mr. Bendix?
Who gets you, a real comedian? Wait till I loosen my galluses.
Courtesy impels me to tell you that Mr. Bendix here is being heard weekly on his own radio show, The Life of Riley, and Paramount impels me to say that he'll soon be seen in their production 2 years before the match.
Permit me to return the favor, hey? Alan Jocelyn is soon going to be seen in the 20th Century Fox 30th anniversary production, Colonel Effingham's Raid.
Thanks, Bill.
No, not at all, not at all.
Next Thursday, you will hear John Payne and Stuart Irwin as stars of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Now, the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California presents
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you the suspenseful play called Heart's Desire, starring Lloyd Nolan.
Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you a remarkable tale of suspense.
And with the tale called Heart's Desire, and with the performance of Lloyd Nolan as Henry Doyle, Roma Wines again hope indeed to keep you in suspense. City dock, jutting out into the Hudson River. A place deserted now this night because the hour is late. Until a man is seen moving down the dock towards the river, moving with a curiously groping, stumbling, aimless walk. And then there is a woman moving out of the shadows. A woman who is a little overdressed, with a little too much makeup, sidling over to where the man must cross her path.
Hello there.
What?
I said hello.
What's your name?
Lucille.
What's your last name?
Hey, you're a fast worker,
What's
huh?
your last name? Tell me.
Stop, you're hurting me.
Tell me.
Carmichael, Lucille Carmichael.
Oh, no.
What's the idea?
No.
That hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the matter with you, anyway? Hey, are you in trouble?
No, yes.
What is it? Were you looking for somebody? Is somebody lost?
Yes, I'm looking for someone.
Someone you love?
Love, yes. Someone that's my whole life.
You want to tell me about her? It helps sometimes.
What?
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yes, they say that a man can remember his whole life if he's drowning and...
You didn't come here to...
No, I came down here. I don't know why to think, to remember. But if I do tell you, I've just lost $50,000.
Roma Wines are bringing you a star, Mr. Lloyd Nolan, whom you've heard in the first act of Heart's Desire, a radio play by Robert Richards and Arthur Lawrence, which is Roma Wines' presentation tonight of Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. The name Elsa Maxwell stands for gracious hospitality. And here is a timely suggestion from Miss Maxwell.
Planning even a simple dinner nowadays calls for real imagination. But there is a simple, inexpensive way to dress up ordinary foods and make them tempting. Dine by candlelight, if possible. And most important, serve golden Roma sauterne, well chilled, with the meal. The soft light and the bright golden glory of delicate Roma sauterne greatly heightens your pleasure.
That is truly an appealing idea. And as Miss Maxwell suggests, delicious Roma California Sauterne, a wine grower's masterpiece, is the subtle note that tones up the occasion. You'll enjoy its freshness of bouquet and a superbly delicate flavor. And like all Roma wines, it possesses unvarying goodness, the goodness of selected grapes, picked at their best in California's choicest vineyards, brought to fullest flavor by the ancient skill of Roma's famed wineries. Serve Roma wines regularly. They are quite inexpensive. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. R-O-M-A, Roma Wines.
And now Roma Wines bring back to our soundstage Mr. Lloyd Nolan, who in the character of Henry Doyle continues a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
years of being a messenger for the 42nd Street Bank and with such a fine record as I had, and then suddenly to lose $50,000, they couldn't believe it. They didn't know what to believe. They kept asking me and asking me. And I kept saying the same thing, that I'd fallen asleep on the park bench and that when I woke up, the satchel was gone. And then came the trial. Broad, would you advise it? I take the Aquitania?
Well, she's a very nice ship.
Yes, I think she'd be best.
Henry, you may not believe it, but a bank president is a fairly busy man.
Oh, yes, that's why I came here to talk to you about my plans.
Plan?
Mm-hmm, yes, you see, I plan to be president of the bank someday myself.
You what?
Oh, not right away, of course, but someday. And I thought I ought to tell you.
Well, Henry, that's a very laudable ambition. And there's no reason, if you work hard and devote yourself wholeheartedly to the interests of the bank, why you shouldn't be president someday. Or anything else your heart desires.
Oh, you really think that, Mr. Frizzell?
Why, of course I do. Remember, Henry, there's always room at the top.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear you say so, because that's just what I've always thought myself. And that's what I was, a messenger. First, I was only an ordinary messenger, but then later, as they came to trust me more and more, they gave me more and more important things to do, until at last I did only the very confidential things, the most important things of all.
800, 900, 1,000, and 100 more is 21,100. Will you sign for it, please, Henry?
Oh, yes.
Gee, Henry, doesn't it worry you sometimes carrying all that money around?
What, this? Someday I'll have more than this, much more someday, when my ship comes in. And so I was happy. All day long I saw only the kind of people, my kind of people, the fine, important people that I admired. The kind that someday I was going to be. Oh, I was happy. Until something happened. Something that happened in a single day and that changed my whole life, changed everything.
Sir?
Henry Doyle, sir.
Oh, yes, Henry. Come in.
Thank you.
I think you know everyone here, don't you, Henry?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. How do you do?
And, Henry, the reason I've sent for you is because we have an old custom here of trying to show our appreciation to those members of our little family whom we feel have given loyal and devoted service to the 42nd Street Bank. And so it gives me great pleasure to present you with this gold watch bearing your name in token of your splendid and outstanding record since the day you joined us 20 years ago today.
What?
Well, take it, Henry.
20 years.
Yes. And in all that 20 years, gentlemen, Henry never once was absent and never once was late. Henry, congratulations.
What about a speech? Bachelor, Henry?
Well, Henry, what do you say?
20 years. 20 years. 20 years.
1,001 and 2, 51,200. Will you sign for it, please, Henry?
Yes.
Say, what's the matter with you today, Henry? You act like you're walking around in a dream.
What?
I said you act like you're walking around in a dream.
For 20 years I've been walking around in a dream. For 20 years. That day, for the first time in 20 years, I did not go directly to the place the bank had sent me. Instead, I wandered through the city to look again at the things I'd dreamed of in my childhood. The beautiful store windows, the elegant, well-dressed people, and the great ocean liners waiting to sail for enchanted, far-off places. Things that I knew now could never be for me. Because suddenly I'd grown up. I was a man. A man going into middle age, and the childhood dream had passed me by. These things I thought. And many other things. Quite different things. And then that afternoon, I was sitting on in a little park. wondering what was the best thing to do next. Then I saw a policeman coming toward me. And all at once I knew it would be very simple. Officer. Officer.
Yeah?
I want to be arrested.
You're what?
Yes, I do. You see, I'm a messenger for the 42nd Street Bank.
So what?
Maybe it'll come back like the drowning man. If I could start from the beginning, the very beginning. What was the beginning? My childhood. My father and mother were immigrants. Very poor people. I was hungry ever since I could remember. My mother was a scrub woman in a big office building. Sometimes she'd take me with her at night. I'd see those big, beautiful offices where important people were working all day long. My father didn't work. Oh, a few days sometimes, that was all. And always at home there were quarrels, terrible quarrels about money. First, it used to make me sick with misery. My mother and father fighting, I couldn't stand it. And I'd run out and go and walk on the streets, walk through the fashionable neighborhoods, watch the fine people, gaze through the great shop windows of all the beautiful things there were to buy. And above all, I'd come down to the docks near where I lived and watch all the gay and happy people sailing on the great ocean liners to wonderful, distant places. Oh, that was the best of all. That was when I knew most clearly that someday I'd grow up and live like those fine people. So I didn't have to think or worry about anything, ever anymore. And even when they died, my mother and then my father, it was nothing. To me, they hadn't really existed at all for a long while. Only then, I knew I must find some kind of work to do. So I went to the bank in a fine, big building where I always knew I would go. I told them I was ready to go to work there. And they hired me. And after a few days, I decided that I should tell them what I had in mind. So I went to see the president of the bank. I was just 19 years old.
Yes? Well?
I'm Henry Doyle.
Oh, yes. Well, Henry, it's a little unusual for one of our messengers to insist upon seeing the president of the bank personally. But since you're new here...
Oh, no, listen. That's the Aquitania.
Oh, is it?
Yes. She's sailing this morning. I know when all the big ships sail. Mr. Frizzell, when I go